Hello, everybody. This is Mike Miles coming at you tonight. Um, and I'm alone tonight. And I'm sure all of you saw in the header as well as posts that I've made and her family has made on both Facebook and on YouTube that um, Ranelle was in a house fire at her house. And it was below her house, and smoke uh, came up, and she suffered smoke inhalation, and she is in the ICU on a ventilator right now. Um, she's my very dear friend and, of course, partner in doing this show. And tonight I wanted to jump on and try and rally some support to show her love and to give her to basically allow her to see that people care. And if she's not watching right now, she will be watching a little bit later, depending on how she's feeling. So I'll get right into basically. It's difficult because she's been helping me learn how to speak and how to do it in a public forum, unlike I've been able to do for the past 10 years because of struggling with symptoms of PTSD from past trauma. It onset later in my life, and when I was about 30, 32. So I was, over a short period of time, doing well, working in a retail industry, and just kind of started to deteriorate, if I can say that right. And wasn't able, it's really affected my speech. And I would get into situations where I couldn't speak really any words. And so part of the show is me trying to gain back something that I've lost. And so, like I said, it is difficult to come on here alone and try to hold a show up on my own. I'm not sure it's gonna work exactly because I've been working with Ranelle for so long. As you can tell, I'm sad, very upset. For her, she has gone through so many things in her life that is just so surprising that one person could go through so much. And I know that we all suffer from different things in our lives. And that is part of why we are creating this show, is because we want to build a community, or at least try and help people know that they are not alone. And this is something that uh, you saw in the first episode at least, and then in our conversations in the next 3 episodes, or the following 2 episodes, we talked about Ranelle's near-death experience. And we were going to finish that tonight and go into that. But then, of course, this happened. Ranelle, we love you. We do. And what I want to try and do is build this. If anyone watched my short or the short video I did and put it up on YouTube, I want to try and show her and make it grow a little bit and be better for when she comes back. And I'm going to do my best to do so. So the big thing that I wanted to pull from her last, what she was going to talk about, and what we will go back through when she does get back, is the end of her near-death experience and what things happened. And of course, if you remember right, she went through that tube, and afterwards her mind completely opened up to the possibilities and learned so much in a very short period of time. And so there's a lot more to it than just the story itself. It's all of the knowledge and gifts that she has received um, in her life because of that event, and because basically she was chosen and she chose to come back. She was given that choice, and she did come back because God wanted her to try and help. Um, so the very last thing her grandmother said, and this is the only thing I'll go into so that we can talk about it another time. But the very last thing she said was, as Ranelle was looking over her body, is before she went back in and started, pain coming rapidly in because she started to feel all of that again. Um, Basically, the last thing her grandmother said to her was, "Love is the key." And love is the key is the subject of tonight. Uh, I believe that, and you can see it in most religious writings. Christian specifically is what I'm familiar with, but I know it's in many of the other sacred texts throughout the history of the world. Is love as a centerpiece um, for a good life and for a a positive influence on the world. Um, and by the way, if you come into the show and you want to say hi, please do, uh, because we have all might want to talk to you, and try and answer any questions and ease any concerns. Um, if I didn't already say, she is uh, awake, but she still is on that ventilator. Um, and she's just in and out of consciousness, from what I understand. So I'm going to see her tomorrow, and I hope that goes well. But anyway, back to love being the key. Um, as far as in the Christian religion, we believe that love is the greatest two commandments: love thy God and love thy neighbor. Of course, we've talked about this extensively in previous episodes, but the key thing I wanted to really point out, key, there it is that it is the key to relationships. It is the key to having a humble and broken heart, a contrite spirit, and being able to have a life filled with positivity and growth within yourself and with others. And I believe that as we can all probably agree, that there is too much hate in this world, and it is seen all over the place. And it's not, it's inside every church, it's inside every, uh, most homes, I would say, through media and other things. And so I'm looking at it, and the only way to truly counter that hate is with humility and love. And so love being the key to all of what Ranelle has tried to bring um, back to this world as she decided to come back. Uh, and if you join, please, you can talk in the comments if you have questions, or if we just want to send our I love yous to Ranelle, um, and try to show her support, which is the goal of tonight. And it's live, so I will respond. Um, anyway, so I'm hoping that I can come across with at least with sincerity, to know that I truly do and want to have a community that is loving, starting with my family and my church and all of those around me. And that is something that can only be achieved by truly loving those around you and loving yourself. And how do we do that when there's so much anger in the world and so much um, negativity, and people try to tear you down? The whole system is set up to maybe not set up, but it causes us and works on us, and we get discouraged. Many people do. Very few can stay, positive all the time and have joy. Um, but just remember, as we go through these things, there is something after this life. What we are seeing here is a it's a difficult time for all humanity, right? But we will be going into the next world and have many of the experiences, I'm sure, that you've heard Ranelle speak of. And if you read her book, Burning Within, she goes through all much of her experience, and it's a very good book. She explains how she saw all of these things on the other side and the amount of love and joy that is there, and the darkness that is in this world doesn't necessarily turn light, but they in that darkness will just be void of light and be in a separate place from us, or from those that chose to live a life that was filled with love. So um, as I see people enter, I just want to say again, please speak up in chat if you have any questions or anything that you just have on your mind. But and please like this video, and I ask that you actually stop and take it and share it with your close family members or those that you feel comfortable with sharing these topic and this subject matter with. And I want to try and grow what Ranelle and I have started, to try and have her come back to something greater, like I've said. So uh, when we are trying to love, the negativity that bombards us really can affect how we allow ourselves to love, because it's so easy to be hurt. It's so easy to be when you're opening yourself up to others. And there's some important principles that we have to understand as we try and fill the world with this Christ-like love, or with any other religion, a true and a true love, a sincere love. So there's a few things we have to understand, is that as we do that, as we try, we have to be able to separate our own ego, our own understanding of ourselves, from the things that others say. And when they attack and when they come, that needs to be in a separate place. We need to allow, we can't change other people, but we can love them, and we can change ourselves. And so as we go through life and we are trying to make a better world, we sorry, I'm having some sound problems. Let me reset that really quick and I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. So when I say that we're having a sound issue, it was really actually my son just jamming out in the other room, and so I didn't want that to be in the background, so I reset that. Um, um, I hadn't told him I was doing this. So anyway, uh, if anyone can remind me where I was, that would be great. No, no. Anyway, so okay, yeah. As we go through and we have to protect our own self, our innermost uh, self, our innermost self that can be um, damaged or affected by other people as they go about their lives or they attack us. And so that's the only way that we can protect ourselves. But at the same time, we have to be humble enough uh, to still love them and not get angry. And that's very difficult to do because anger is a natural emotion and you're going to feel it. And it's not always a completely negative thing. But when we're dealing with our fellow man and dealing with others, we want to be able to be true to how our beliefs and what we stand for, and as well as how we feel. We don't want to be insincere. But if we can remember, even in those moments where anger is there, that love is the key. That the love that we have for them is more important than being right, is more important than uh, winning an argument. Um, oh, thanks, honey. That's my wife just um, sending her loves to uh, to Carson, if you guys can see, or not to Carson, to Ranelle. My son's name is Carson, but anyway, um, I love all of you too. So when we are truly trying to um, make changes to ourselves and the world, it's important that we have that humility and we can go through life realizing what place we have in the universe. And that is that we are brothers and sisters, um, that we are on this world experiencing a human and physical experience, but we're not normally that way. We are spiritual beings. And so as we experience these things in this life, um, we can we can share that view and at least look at life through that lens and have the perspective that we can uh, keep uh, while we're angry or when we feel like we've been wronged, because they're not living they're living a life that is also flawed, and everyone is, all of us. Jesus was the only one that didn't uh, live a flawed life. And so if we can go through and have a true understanding of our relationship to each other and remember that we came from somewhere and we're going somewhere and this life is temporary, we can really bring in the have a perspective that is true. And it's hard to do that because we're all in the now. We're all in the this is life. We have to make money. We have to live. We have to, uh, we have families that pull us right and left. We have friends. And so we have so many things and then don't even get me started with electronics and with all of the distractions that can be YouTube, watching shows on YouTube. Uh, uh, that can be distractions from the real truth of who we are and that perspective. And so it's easy to get lost in either anger or despair. And so that is Ranelle and I's battle cry. We want to stop that. We want to end it. And so being without her is difficult. And we send you all of our love and our deepest, sorrow and sincere sorrow that you're going through what you're going through now. And we want you to get better so you can come back. And not just for that, we want you to not suffer, for we all have suffered, and we all know the sting of pain and regret. And so we should mourn. We should mourn for those things that are difficult, not only in our own lives, but in other people's lives as well. And that is I don't want to say good thing, because it's not fun, but it is a necessary thing. And so we can also, we're complex beings. So at the same time, we can still celebrate the fact that, she's not gone, for instance. She's still here and fighting. And that part is good. We can experience both things at the same time. And we can also have more, be little bundles of emotion and living this emotional, spiritual life and physical life too. There's a lot of things to process. So as we move forward, let me, now that I've kind of covered, hey, honey, you did a good job, because you put forgiveness is the key to loving others. And that is very wise words. That my wife, she's smarter than I, much of the time. So, and that is very true. If we are to be able to connect and truly be able to let go of anger and those things and see past the thing that's directly in front of us, which is faces or moving parts on a screen or ugly words, or arguments that you just can't let yourself be wrong. The only way to really loving others is forgiveness. It's commanded of us of God to forgive. And a lot of times we think of it as, oh, we need to let go of it for those people. In reality, it's as much, if not more, for ourselves. Because if we hold on to that, the anger and the frustration that we have with others, we yeah, thanks, honey. Yes, you are. If we hold on to that, we can't truly connect and truly have an effect on the world around us, or even our own hearts. And that you can't be content when you're in an angry position or in an angry place. And contentment is important, along with joy and happiness and sorrow and mourning. And all of these things come with the package of life. And forgiveness is the key to allowing yourself to love others. And allowing, I think, is the right word, because naturally, I believe if we are loving ourselves and understanding and proper perspective, love then starts to come easier towards other people. That's not what we're taught in school. That's not what we're taught in this environment of um, argument and debate and fighting and disagreements. We focus so much on the disagreements in our lives and the disagreements with other people and the differences between us that we can't see that there are so many more things that are the same. And if we can grab hold of that and realize that we can gain more. Um, we can gain more by loving and forgiving and being rid of all of the distractions and being rid of all of, and this is live. So when I lose my train of thought, it's kind of, embarrassing, but we'll make it work. I don't have Ranelle to bail me out. So I'm just gonna, keep going. Our hope must be centered in that love. And in the Christian faith, we believe that that is centered through Christ, because Christ is love. God is love. And that actually, I think, is universal amongst religions and universal amongst all of us. And they meant, unless those that are atheists and don't believe in a God, but still, I think even they would admit that having forgiveness and um, having love is better than what we currently have in our society. And we are, I think, obligated to try. And it's better to try. It's better to hope. It's better to love. And so as we go through this journey together, uh, I'm hoping that we can grow to have mutual respect and love amongst each other. And we want to grow and become something that Ranelle foresaw in her afterlife experience, which was something that would affect many, many people and generations of people. Because when you change yourself, the generations after you are ultimately changed as well, because they live with you, they are around you, and it's all a collective type thing. And it's not, one person can't change it all, but it does make a difference, at least in the generations that come after you or us. And so, but she had this vision that she was going to be able to reach many people all at once. And so she hasn't felt like that has been completely fulfilled in her life. Thus, here we are. And I believe that this will lead to that. No matter how slow it starts, it will start to snowball. I'll get better. I'll be able to hold my train of thought for longer than 15 minutes, maybe. And she will return, and we will continue to push forward. But this is our main battle cry, or our main focus, is to try and bring love to the world as the key to healing through things that cause PTSD, and even the PTSD itself, to heal from the after effects of going through it. Those of you that deal with it like I have would understand that it can quickly build on itself. If you have episodes, or you go to a dark place, you're right back where you started. And that feeling that's there holds you in that place. And but you're living a life here. And so you actually suffer um, in the moment. And then that becomes another moment of suffering that then can build on to future moments of suffering. And so I, I mean, it sounds kind of glim and whatnot, or uh, gloom and doom, but really it's about being able to work through those original things. And there's many different therapies now that are out. EMDR, if you want to look that up, is helpful to many that struggle with PTSD. And but ultimately, even though I still suffer and have episodes and have issues and that are continuing to affect me, I still have many times when I can also feel contentment and peace and joy and love. And so that wasn't true years ago. That wasn't true in the standard life of someone that lives with PTSD, at least severe or complex PTSD. It and for people who don't that live with somebody or know somebody that deals with it, it can be very confusing to understand what that looks like and why. Why are they acting the way they are? Uh, it's all subconscious, and your mind is trying to protect you. And so it's putting you into fight or flight mode, and you're trying to overcome something that you've already dealt with years ago, or maybe not dealt with, but it happened to you years ago. And so it's not something that you can just turn off, or it's not something that you can just hope your way through, or just pray your way out of. God can remove it from you, but that's not always in the cards. That's not always the best. That's not always his plan. We have to be able to work through a lot of things on our own and find these answers for ourselves. And so I believe strongly that God can heal, and that I've had miracles in my own life. One was when Ranelle worked with me, as we've talked about in previous episodes, and it helped me reconnect with the God that I believed in, but I could not feel. And so that opened up the new world to me and allowed me to see again with hope in my eyes. And 5 years later, I'm still working through things, but I haven't lost that connection. And so it has been a very incremental process since that miracle. But God was there. There's no other reason it would have happened for me to have an open mind and be able to feel that love from Him again, which then cascaded into my family and allowed me to have a reason to find answers, a reason to be better, a reason to love. And so I hope that anyone who watches this that has dealt with some of the things I'm expressing and explaining can know that you are not alone in this, and you are not alone. For those of you that don't deal with it but deal with somebody who does, you're not alone either. My wife, I think, is still in chat. She can attest to that. It's not just you that it affects, and it affects those that love you too. And so you are not alone. So remember that. And this is a place where we wanted to make sure that people knew that. And I'm sure they know it. What is it, colloquially? I don't know if that's the right word, but they know it, but I want them to feel that there's and hear their experience through the experiences that both Ranelle and I have shared, and others who may or may not come on to the show, depending on how things pan out and where we're going to go with it. So we want to share our experiences so that you can actually feel from our scenarios and our experiences that you are not alone. It's not just something people say, and you can relate to some of that. So I guess I'll actually just break right into, I'll take some time and explain a little bit of my story. So when I was growing up, and as I was growing up, and if you have kids or anything like that, no, they don't need to hear all of this. This is adult conversation, and this is not easy. It's not topics that I would have ever imagined I was talking about on the internet live. So, but here I am. When I was younger and I was growing up, I was I don't even know if you can say it on YouTube, but I had people sexually take advantage of me. I would say the word, but I think it's banned. It's one of those words. And that happened at different times from different sources, but that all messed with me and my ability to interact with the world. Even in the moment, it did. I didn't understand what other people would naturally understand. Things that came easy to other people didn't for me because of some of those experiences I went through. And then the big thing that happened with me is when I turned 18, which, by the way, 18, if you want to say that's an adult, you're not done growing yet. Your brain's not fully functioning. You are still just barely entering the world in a significant adult way. So you're not an adult. You just are starting to do adult things. And so when I was 18, there was a situation where that happened again from somebody that was within my my church, someone that was a leader, so to say, in that church. And so what the reason I bring that up in a specific way is because it caused what I've read up and seen as an institutional betrayal, something that I had strong belief in. Actually, I still do. But you can imagine the kind of, the kind of back and forth and it's incongruent, learning and speaking of Christ and love and all of these things, but then to be betrayed from someone like that, it has a different effect than many other times that this thing or other times that this can happen. It's similar to if a very close family member does it, but with me, I couldn't escape without leaving my beliefs behind. I tried to find a way and I tried to separate that, but logically, you can try and separate something, but it doesn't separate. And so for years, I lived and pushed and worked and did the best that I could. And it was working in my eyes, what I could tell. I was being successful in many ways, in the professional world, in my family. I was having kids. I was supporting them. My wife was able to stay at home. So on all those measures, I was doing good. But that that feeling of tension, feeling of uh, incompatibility. I'll think of the word, I'm sure, in a minute, but I'm sure you could imagine how that would cause, because my core beliefs, I am a very strong believer. And so there was a disconnect that started to happen between me and God, despite the fact that it wasn't my fault, despite the fact that it was an individual, not the church or the organization that did it. But that's not how our minds process things. So it actually did affect me and started to affect my ability to feel uh, inspiration from God. And it happened slowly over time, because it was open to me for a long while after, but it started to slowly close. I started to close off my heart. I started to become agitated and angry, and I didn't understand uh, why I was changing in that way. And to me, it all kind of fell apart in 6 months, 6 to 12 months. And so I crashed, and it got to the point where I couldn't even work anymore. And it was very hard for my family. It was very hard for me. And one of the big things, and to say that I am have any luck after explaining all of that is kind of weird, but I I was lucky that I had a family and a support system there that was able to catch me, to know, while I figured out what was going on in my head and what was going on in my heart and what was happening to me. It took years to figure it out, and still years to address it. And so, falling back on my family, my father, and my mother, and we actually had to move in with them for, it ended up being 7 years. And me and my wife and three of my children at the time, well, four, uh, the fourth one was born while we were there. That was very difficult. I mean, think moving in with your in-laws for my wife, and then me having to, it's like a regression, it seemed. And so there was, without that support system of my parents and the people around us that loved us, things would have fallen apart much worse. I probably wouldn't even be here today. And so there's a real lack in our society, um, including the churches and including the government and all of that there is not, the family is the natural fallback of any situation like this, that they are the ones that are going to support you and help you, and not, they're limited on what they can do. We can't expect them to do everything, but just knowing that they love us, and we that they accept us, and they're trying to uh, help us manage uh, those difficult things. Um, I think it's necessary for healing, and so many people don't have that, and it's primarily in the fact that our society is breaking down the family, and that's something that's been a theme in politics and churches is we can't let the family be destroyed. And we're not talking about, you know, we're not talking about any one group that is going after and causing this to happen. And it's really our moral compass as a country, and speaking of and as a world, let's just go there, continues to degrade. And so what do we do to give those that struggle? I mean, I look at people that are on the street, or that are in homes, or that are lost in drugs, and I'm like, I could have been one of those people if not for my family. And I think about that, and it gives me uh, compassion for them, and compassion for what they go through. And not all of them are in it. Some chose to go down that road, but that's not as important as understanding that I could have been there. And if we're able to really grasp that our family, I look at my kids and see that they are basically my world, and my wife and them are who I need to work hardest for, because they are going to continue the legacy of family and being able to have a support system that is necessary for people that fall into a category like me or many others out there. And so I look at it and say there's got to be a better way that we can address it as a human family. But ultimately it comes down to the family, groups of people. And we should love our neighbor and be able to step out and be that support for someone else if we can. And we've lost that because we say danger, danger, and there is risk. And I don't know what the answer is specifically, but I do know that in the long run, families are the only way it's going to be fixed in mass or completely. And but please, if you're out there, remember that some of the people that are struggling, listen to the Spirit and God to know when to help, when to step in, when to be there and be a support system for another person, and whether they're in your family or not. You could be all the difference to them. And that is part of my message today, that this is one of those situations that we're kind of in that with Ranelle. She's not, this is a different subject entirely. She's suffering from something very direct, and she barely made it out of that building. She had to actually get out herself. And she did ultimately get out, but she had to climb down her stairs of her apartment. And I don't know, I just know the geography of it. I haven't asked and seen or talked to anyone that found her or anybody like that, but I do know what her house was set up as. And she had to go down through a workshop below her house and get out. And so she almost didn't make it. So I want to dedicate the show, of course, to her and my as a dear friend and a sister in Christ and a daughter of God and somebody who I believe has a work to do here in this life still. And in the description, I'm going to post the GoFundMe page that once I receive it, I'll post it there. So if you see this and you're able to help, please do, because she lost everything. She lost all of her things. She lost um, what small things she had left over from the last disaster, which is another story. But she could really use that help. Her daughter, Danny, also, if you're a family member or a friend, she go there and she has a list of things that you can donate that are necessities, basic things that she needs, especially once she gets out of the hospital. And I think that we could truly make a difference and help her. So go there and see that on Facebook, or you can look at my I'll put the GoFundMe in the description so you'll be able to see. And please leave comments on this video expressing your love to Ranelle, because I want her to be able to, when she can, pull this up and read it and have a positive thing to wake up to. So that's what I ask. I ask you to go and share our show and share it with others. I've asked that. Go and like this episode and watch previous episodes, and ultimately subscribe and leave comments. These are all the things that help the YouTube algorithm to increase traffic and whatnot. But really, it's a matter of building, like I've said, trying to build a community that can be at least a third party support to some, and be there to try and help people through hard times and hard things, and to remember that there is a life before this one and after that we have that makes a big difference in how we approach life. And creating that love that is so key to our existence, and the energy that as Ranelle talked about in our last episode, or the one previous, that energy, that love is an energy, not an emotion. The energy affects our emotions, but the love itself, and it's just almost semantics, but we have to understand that there is a separate part of it that is a power. It is an energy that exists. And so understanding that and how all of that fits together is basically what the show is about, and why we want to try and help and do the best that we can. So I love all of you that participate and that have been a part of watching these shows. But I also want to extend that love beyond. So I also love Ranelle, my friend. You get better, okay? Come back, teach me how to speak. How to maybe do a show, well or better. I'm starting to feel more comfortable with speaking in a forum like this, but it's hard to continue on, especially by yourself, continuing to talk. Well, maybe it's not that hard to just talk and ramble, but be coherent, which I hope I was at least a little bit tonight. So, again, I love everyone. Like and subscribe, and God bless Ranelle Wallace. Goodbye.